I'm Catherine Osborne, and I'm here with Texas Monthly senior editor John Spong to discuss his upcoming trip to Afghanistan. John, thank you so much for doing this. This will be your second trip to the Middle East for journalism. You spent 2 weeks in January 2007 in Ramadi, Iraq. Why Afghanistan this time?
Because I couldn't talk Evan, my boss, into letting me go back to Iraq.
But you wanted to?
Yeah, the 2 weeks I spent there were with a surgeon who's a good old friend of mine, and I spent this much time while I was there with some combat soldiers. Over there they call them warriors, or in the military I guess they do, the guys that are actually out fighting. And that was a pretty amazing experience with those guys. Mm-hmm. And so when I got back, I wanted to do that because it seemed to me to be a very different story, mm-hmm. Spending time with those guys. And I had it lined up to where I could go to Baghdad and spend some time with some warriors while they were doing the surge, and I didn't get to. Evan felt like we had already done Iraq, or we had not for good, but we had done enough for the time being. So I was trying to find a different way to do a similar subject, meaning not the war in Afghanistan is different from the war in Iraq, but combat soldiers, Marines, are a pretty unique bunch of folks, and I wanted to get with them. Mm-hmm. So this made more sense because we haven't done anything about Afghanistan.
Well, what kind of preparation did you do for your trip to Iraq?
There's a lot of technical stuff,
mm-hmm.
Practical things that have to get taken care of, like that you might not think to take, but you need, depending on what time of year it is, you need bug repellent, you need travel shots, you need, to make sure you've got all your tape recorders and everything in order. Preparation for that. It was really cold, it's all a little bit intimidating because it's so far away and it's so unusual, mm-hmm. for what you normally do. I was worried about the weather, but then I was also worried because it's war. So I would talk to these other reporters that had already done it before, and it was just weird because every one of them had a different take and a different tone, mm-hmm. when they spoke about it. And so some of them, everybody was very realistic about how dangerous it could be, but some of them were just, I guess, more worrisome people. And so, and then some of them were real macho. So, one person's like, oh, well, you have to be very careful and you can't get into a taxi cab or whatever because, and it's like, okay, and that gets you a little bit nervous. And then there was this one guy that came in here, who said, you're taking a dagger, aren't you? And I was like, what?
Yeah.
You'll need a pistol. And I'm like, I don't think I have either of those. But he made it sound like I was going to need to have a knife in my teeth through the whole trip. That ended up not being the case.
Is this a piece for the magazine?
Yeah. It's one of the cool things is that Evan is, in this instance, letting me go over there without somebody in mind to do a story on already. Mm-hmm. And the Marines are supposedly looking for the public affairs officer, Captain Frush. Captain Frush says that they're looking for Texans for me to hook me up with. And hopefully I'll get along with them, and hopefully they'll be interesting and ideally good storytellers, because a lot of those guys are kind of bashful and humble and apprehensive around reporters. And so if we can kind of break through that, and then they turn out to be big, or rather good storytellers on top of that, we could have a really, really cool look at somebody over there doing something that's kind of amazing.
Mm-hmm. Will you be able to move throughout the country, or will you be stationed in one place?
I'll be, when you get in with the military, you are what they call in the bubble. Well, somebody referred to it that way once when I was talking to her. And so I will fly into Kandahar, which is a big base. And then from there I'll be going out into the country. And I will always be with Marines. It will always be embedded. But it should be moving around at least 2 or 3 times. I'm hoping that at most it'll be like a week here in Helmand, and
mm-hmm.
a week here over there, and a week here over there.
Some of your research includes information about the Taliban and the Pashtun tribal group. So will you focus more on local dynamics in this piece?
I don't. it'll be hard, I'm guessing, to talk to those people, Taliban in particular.
Yeah, well.
You'd kind of rather not. But so to the extent that that can be gleaned from what the soldiers are hearing, the Marines are hearing, and what they're trying to accomplish, and the people they're talking to, because from what I've read, they are going into these places and introducing themselves to the village elders and the honchos within these tribes and groups of folks. And so they should have a feeling for what the local dynamic is, and if the Taliban's in the area and the locals don't really like them, but are just kind of going along with them because it's easier for them to do it that way. Presumably that'll come up, but that's more of the, I'm guessing, that's the context. The story will be the day-to-day life of somebody that's there.
That's what it was, because last time it was very much inside the trauma surgery area.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing this will be like that. I don't know. I just don't know what all I'm going to get to see.
Right. And what are your expectations for how the Afghan people are going to treat you? Maybe not that much interaction with them?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just hard because language barriers are so rough, And so, yeah, and it's not like being a dumb American that goes to France and can't speak French. I've done that too.
Yeah.
But this is actually, there's not a lot of us that speak Farsi or whatever the dialect's going to be in that area.
As a journalist, did you face hostility last time at all from the soldiers?
There were some that were apprehensive, and there were some that just didn't want to talk, but everybody was pretty cool. But like I said, most of my time was spent with my friend Carlos, and he had a pretty large team underneath him, and those guys were all really cool to me, but they really liked him. So,
could a woman do what you're about to do?
Oh yeah, probably better.
Yeah.
No, there was a huge story in the Times Magazine a couple of months ago. This one about Army guys in Afghanistan. It was written by Elizabeth Rubin, and the photographer that she used was actually a woman too. And so the two of them were actually out on patrol, got into a firefight. I mean, it's pretty swashbucklers. It was pretty wild, the stuff that they did, and they're both very much women.
Yeah.